Welcome viewers for another exciting episode of Awaz Entertainment. I'm your host Prashant, and today we'll be taking a peek at a realtor's life, a story of new beginnings. Tonight, our episode will focus on the real estate market through the eyes of two young realtor enthusiasts. I have the pleasure of introducing Umer Farooq and Wardah Mughal that work at Connect Real Estate Group, focused on the Greater Toronto Area. Umer Farooq has a master's in operations management and postgraduate diploma in marketing. Digital marketing experience for 8+ years and 2 years in the real estate industry, and helped about 20 families so far, making the biggest investments of their lives. And Wardah has a master's in analytics and extremely passionate about building relationships and finding people their dream homes. Welcome, Omar. Welcome, Wardah. Delighted to have you as part of the show. How are you guys doing this evening?
Very well, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So excited for this one because, real estate is a hot topic, and it's something that, every citizen of in Canada as well as the rest of the world can kind of relate to. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey on how you kind of stumbled upon this field and your the reasons behind why you chose this field? Maybe we can start with you, Omar, and then we can go to Wardah afterwards.
Absolutely. So as I was growing up as a child, my friend, a close friend of mine, he was into real estate back in my hometown. And since then, I was seeing homes, and whenever I used to see this big mansions, it used to inspire me, as in like I should own one day. And that interest developed when I traveled to Dubai to pursue my career, and then I saw great buildings, and it amazed me to another level. And in Dubai, the level of construction is, if I was on a holiday and I would come back to Dubai, I would see a building half done. And in another 3 months, you would see a building with full of life, people walking in, walking out, offices everywhere. And that really pushed me to pursue more about real estate in general. And life took different turns, and it gave me an opportunity to come to Canada. And when I landed in Canada, I started hunting my house. When I was hunting my house, I realized the power of real estate, and me as a person, I really enjoy meeting people, talking to people. So when I saw that this field involves more of like being an extrovert and having to have conversations with people, it really pushed me to be a realtor, and then help a lot of families who are looking to buy their dream home, which is also one of their biggest investment of their life. So how great can it be to be like helping one another and achieve their real estate goals?
Absolutely, that's an interesting story because you went all the way to Dubai, fascinated by the development and things happening in Dubai, because Dubai is next level. Like when it comes to the buildings and the advances in the technology and real estate, it's something you cannot imagine. But I mean, Canadian market's a little bit different. I think it's a lot more like, for like normal people per se. So Wardah, like how about you? Like I know both of you guys have this passion of really making the connection with people and, really taking that emotion level and really figuring out why they want a home and what type of home they are. So tell us about your journey and how you ended up in this field, because I realize you've been in Canada for about 10+ years or so. So please share your story as well.
So my story is a little different than his. I came here 10 years ago, and living in Pakistan, you actually don't change your houses that much. I remember your grandfather has a house, your dad's living in there, and then you're living in that. But when we came here, the first thing we started looking was for a condo or apartment, right? And then over time, we changed about 6 to 7 places because we were students. Yeah, we were students. Then I moved in with my brother. Then my family came, and then we got a family home. That made me realize how many transactions a Canadian does compared to anybody else. So when I came here, I had no idea. So the reason I got into it is because mainly for immigrants. Before that, I was actually helping immigrants get jobs, and this kind of just equates together, job, and after that they're always looking for a house, and getting them. I swear, if I had started 10 years ago, like a good realtor can literally make or break your journey in Canada.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the biggest investments, like you talked about, right? It is so important because you're trusting a realtor with quite a bit of your investment for the next, 30 years or something. Like, that's a long commitment.
Yeah, and knowing someone who's up to date to the market, someone who's experienced, it really makes a big difference. And not just buying or selling, even getting your first home. Like, it's so difficult for new immigrants to even find a place to rent when they come. So there are ways to go about it. There are ways to help them out. And I've actually, like, it's sort of passion helping them out start their lives in Canada.
Let's touch on that a little bit, because I think, like, a lot of viewers could be first-time home buyers or perhaps new immigrants to Canada. So can you talk us a little bit about what they should do and how does that feel like? Because it is overwhelming, right? So because I remember, like, when I went through that process, there's so much stuff going on. There's there's lawyers, there's the banking, there's the mortgage, there's a realtor. There's so much stuff. Can you walk us through the process for, like, what does a new immigrant have to do to get educated, as well as kind of, like, obviously, get a realtor? But can you walk us through the process from a new immigrant perspective, maybe Wardah, and then we can go on to Omar?
As a new immigrant, you're not gonna buy the house right up front, right? Not in your first year, at least. So you'll start with leasing, and there are ways to lease as well. Like, when you're leasing, then it's good to have your employment in check. It's good to build your credit, get your credit card. Like, when my husband actually just came to Canada, the first thing we did was get them their credit card. So you need your employment history, you need your credit card. Sometimes you need some, what else would you say for leasing?
Basically, a good credit history is something that will definitely put a foot forward. So as soon as you land into country, make sure you're using your credit card quite often and building a good rapport, because everything moving forward is going to be like a foundation for you to take that next step. And make sure, if you have any student loans, if you have any purchases that you have made, please keep up with the payments, because it just takes like a minute to break your credit score, but takes a year to bring it back up. So always be very cautious on that. And as long as you're good to people and you have a good realtor representing you, you should be good to make that decision or create a roadmap as to how you would want to plan your real estate, and take that one step at a time. Because I have realized a lot of people, when they come here, they see big homes. Big is always not better. Big is just like more stress on yourself. So start small, start with what you can afford, go in and build that equity. Automatically you'll have that appreciation coming on your property. Once you have that appreciation, take your next step. So that way you're not financially stressed, and then you're not paying someone's rent, you're building your own equity. So the very first step, I would say, is start with what you can afford. Start small, because
no, that's brilliant advice, because the reason is, like, some people are overly ambitious. Like, like you said, you see homes, like, if you're a new immigrant, you do get enticed by the fact that, oh wow, like, these are some really nice homes. But then when you look at the housing market and the prices, it's like, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. It is not, I mean, I'll be realistic. It's not common for an average person to afford that. But like you said, right, you can build your rapport by investing in a small home, using a credit card, using your savings and things like that, and just build that. Because I think that's really important. A lot of people don't realize this, right? They feel that if you have, like, X number of dollars in your bank account, that is good enough to get you a mortgage. But that's not the reality. Because, when you go through that process, they do a credit report, credit history, they see if you can afford it, full-time job, all these kind of things. And that's very crucial in terms of building that and finding something that you love. And then you can always expand on that later as well.
And to add to that, it's also like, when new immigrants come, as much as they see homes, they also see very good cars. And they go and get a car loan. Like, that's the first thing a lot of people do, because it's really easy to afford cars there on leases, but that hurts your mortgage. That hurts the total mortgage you can get. So if you want to get into the market, I would suggest go for a second-hand car for your first car. Get the house first, and then you can get the car.
That's brilliant advice, because when you go through the mortgage process and things like that, they see how much assets and how much liabilities that you have. So a car that you are owing money, that is not an asset. That is actually a liability, right? So you could have like a $100,000 car, but that actually goes against your the credit report and being approved for a mortgage and next steps as well. That's a really good point. Yes, continue.
Absolutely. And the way a lender looks at it as your liability is decreasing your purchasing power. So the more liability you have, the less purchasing power you will have. So always make sure that you're not having more liabilities when you're making this big decision, because that can impact on your purchasing power, which will increase your amount to buy a house.
And also, don't get too many credit cards. Stick to 2 credit cards. Use them because you know how Canada is.
Of
like
course.
everywhere you go, they give you a credit card for 5% discount. That 5% discount is going to hurt you
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
So don't get enticed by those kind of offers. They're really, I've done those mistakes. Don't do those. To add another part is you mentioned the loan bit, right? And the other thing is that a lot of people come from Pakistan or Dubai or India, anywhere, right? They do bring in let's say an average condo is 500K. They have 5% down saved up, and they try to save 20% or 10%. I would suggest, and I think Omar, you would say the same, is that if you have that 5%, talk to your realtor. See if you can get a mortgage approved. Don't wait, because while you're waiting, the market is still making money for somebody else.
Absolutely. And another thing that I wanted to point out is, let's say for new graduates and stuff that are trying to getting into the real estate market, I think that they should get in. Let me know your thoughts on this, because I feel that they should get in right away, because oftentimes we spend so much time with rent and things like that, and we're just blowing a lot of money. So what are your thoughts for new graduates and even students, right? Students that are coming in, going from high school, would you advise them to invest on a property, while you're a student, or would you wait until a bit later? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very great question that you brought up, because a lot of my friends or within my family who are still studying, they have a lot of interest into real estate, and any savings that they do from their working in part-times to having that extra money, look into pre-construction. Because pre-construction, you don't need a hell lot of money. You just need 10%, 15% down payment of the purchasing power. So meaning if you are looking at a 1-bed unit coming up in Mississauga, for example, if that is priced at $500,000, all you need is 5%, $25,000 to get started with. Book the unit and start making those payments.
Absolutely.
When you're closing that unit, you have already paid for it. You can live in it or you can rent it out and hold it for a minimum of 5 years. Anyone getting into the real estate market, if they are looking at it from short-term perspective, then they should stay away from it, because real estate is not a stock market. You have to make sure that you're buying a property, holding it for minimum 5 years, and then selling it. That's when you're making money. That's when it's more valued for you as an investment. And that's my strong advice to anyone who's just wanting to think about real estate or wanting to get into the market. Get into the market with an approach that you will hold the property for 5 years. Because that's the rate of return that you're gonna get in the 5 years is the most valuable rate of return.
I think you brought a very good point. So I think people should look at the first-time home buying options, because that only happens once. So I believe, do you want to talk about the first-time home buying? Because I believe it's only 5% that don't, but you guys probably know more about this. Yeah.
So the way the down payment work is, if you're a first-time home buyer, right? Before, the government of Canada was limiting your down payment to 100,000.
Right.
Now they have increased the annual income to be 120,000. So meaning, if you were earning 100,000 as your annual income, you were qualified for 500,000, 5 times. Now, for 100,000, they have increased that to 120,000, because the market is going so high, the rates are increasing. It's barely anything available at 500,000, especially in the GTA, right? So the government is seeing that, and they increase the purchasing power. So if you are starting and wanting to get into the market, if you only have 5% down, you can still buy a property below 500,000.
Absolutely.
If your purchasing power increases from 500 to $999,000, then your down payment comes from 10 to 15%. Anything over $1 million is standard 20% down payment. So if you have 5%, you can still get started within 500,000, right? So there are opportunities. It's just that how proactive you are or your realtor is in finding you that opportunity.
Well, we'll take a pause right there because we're getting into a lot about the housing patterns and markets, which we'll talk a little bit about this. So stay tuned, folks. We'll go for a short commercial break and we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the housing markets and patterns and how do you choose your best realtor. See you soon.
पूरे ओंटारियो में लाखों लोग अपनी कोविड-19 की वैक्सीन हासिल कर चुके हैं। हेल्थ कनाडा की मंजूरशुदा तमाम वैक्सीन महफूज और अस्पतालों, डॉक्टर्स के दफातर, फार्मेसीज और अवामी वैक्सीनेशन के मुकामात पर हासिल हैं। अपना किरदार अदा करें, अपनी वैक्सीन हासिल करें। 300 जुबानों में मदद के लिए ontario.ca/book वैक्सीन पर जाएं या 1888-999-6488 पर कॉल करें।
का लाजवाब ऑफर, जहां हम 0% फाइनेंसिंग पर आपकी मनपसंद कार दे रहे हैं, फ्री विंटर टायर्स और साथ ही हम मुफ्त ऑयल चेंज भी दे रहे हैं, वो भी उम्र भर के लिए। अभी आएं और इस लाजवाब ऑफर का लुत्फ लें। जल्दी करें, आपका खुशामदीद हमारे आउटलेट में, जो कि 60 क्वींस प्लेट ड्राइव एट इंटरसेक्शन क्लोज टू हाईवे 27 एंड रेक्सडेल अपोजिट टू वुडबाइन रेस ट्रैक। जल्द से जल्द इस ऑफर का लुत्फ लें। आज ही कॉल करें सुनील अग्रवाल को 647-703-0218। पाकिस्तान का सबसे मशहूर एक्स्ट्रा लॉन्ग ग्रेन मुगल बासमती राइस अवेलेबल इन बोथ व्हाइट एंड सिला। होम डिलीवरी इज अवेलेबल सब्जेक्ट टू मिनिमम ऑर्डर एंड रेडियस, ऑल्सो अवेलेबल एट योर नेबरहुड फ्रेश कोड। मजीद मालूमात के लिए आज ही कॉन्टैक्ट करें 5146630480 पर या ऑर्डर करें हमारे फेसबुक से। बनाएं ये रमज मुगल बासमती के साथ, द प्रीमियम चॉइस फॉर प्रीमियम टेस्ट। देखिए खेल की आवाज हर पीर शाम 7 बजे। आज की बात समीना जबीन के साथ हर मंगल रात 8 बजे। इस्लाम इन मॉडर्न टाइम हर मंगल और जुमा शाम 6 बजे। कनेडियन मोज़ेक हर बुध रात 8 बजे। रियलिटी कॉफी टॉक हर जुमेरात शाम 7 बजे। टुनाइट टॉक हर जुमा शाम 7 बजे। देखिए तकरार, कीजिए तकरार समीना जबीन के साथ हर रोज रात 9 बजे और रिपीट सुबह 9 बजे। आप देख रहे हैं आवाज एंटरटेनमेंट, आवाज आपकी, चैनल हमारा, जुड़िए हमसे।
Welcome back, folks. We are here with Umar and Wardah, and we are discussing the realtor's life and story of new beginnings. So before the break, we kind of touched into a little bit about the housing market, and I really want to go deeper into that conversation because, we are kind of living in a post-pandemic area, and let's find out about, what is a market like and what are the trends and patterns that, as a buyer or even a seller to really look out for. So Wardah, what is the market like right now? Because things are fluctuating, so interest rates are kind of low, but people are still buying, people are still selling. So as a realtor, can you share a little bit of insights on what the market looks like right now and some trends and patterns that people should be looking out for?
So it's all-time. The interest rates, as you mentioned, are actually all-time low at this point. Yeah, it's actually a really good time to get into the market. When you talk about the seller's point of view, the only, I would say, a little bit disadvantage right now is that the inventory is really skim, which is why the supply and demand, that there's a lot of demand and the supply is really low. So which might, like, if I were to tell you some numbers, houses in GTA where it used to be in hundreds, like in high hundreds, are now in like 100, 200 or 50 houses but per week or there's a big difference in inventory. When we talk about pandemic, what happened is that everybody wanted to live in Toronto. Everybody wanted that condo life in front of Lakeshore on Bay Street, right? So, but one of the main reasons was that the financial district is there. They used to work there. The cost of going to work is actually about $500 a month to Toronto. But pandemic hit and even the divorce rates went up. But like nobody could survive in a condo. It's a 2-bedroom. It's a small space. It's about like most condos, 1-bedroom condo. You're looking at 500 to 600 square feet.
Yeah.
That's really small for 2 people to be working from home.
Yeah.
I had co-workers working from the washroom.
Wow.
Imagine. So what did that lead to? That led to an increase in, like a massive increase. We're looking at a 20 to 25% rise in outskirts.
Wow.
So you talk about Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Hamilton, Oshawa, Whitby.
Yep.
Everybody started moving into bigger homes.
Right.
So the prices really spiked there. But there is still chance to get into the market if you talk about those outskirts. If you want, like, there are people who just want to get a big freehold home. And when we talk about freehold, what does that mean? Freehold basically means that there is no maintenance fees associated with the condo or with the house.
Yeah.
Now, condos normally have maintenance fees for about 300 to 500. There are townhomes that have maintenance fees from 100 to 500. Freehold basically means that you don't have to pay any maintenance fees. There's no extra added cost apart from your mortgage and the taxes.
Yeah. On that note, let's talk a little bit about the different options we have, right? So we have condos and we have houses, right? You know, condos associate themselves with a bunch of other fees that's associated with it, like, you know, hydro, this, that. So can you tell us a little bit about, you know, if you are a buyer that's like looking at this for the first time, it is kind of overwhelming, right? They're thinking about all the things that add up after the price of the actual home itself. Because one thing you have to realize is that when you're going into this, right? So the price is one thing, but there's a lot of fees associated with it, which are more, you know, monthly, yearly, and things like that. So can you talk a little bit about what that is like, and what should people be thinking about, right? Like, I understand if you're single, you have a certain criteria. If you're a family, you have a certain criteria. If you have a bigger family, it's a different criteria. Maybe just a little bit of thoughts on what your take on this is.
So I'll mention two, three things, and you can continue with that. So first, if anybody who's looking for a house or a condo, I would say go to the bank, get a pre-approval. Figure out how much the bank will loan you. How much is the bank ready to give you? That is the threshold. That's where the research starts. Let's say someone comes up to me, they have X amount of income, and the bank has said, okay, you know, we'll loan you 650. Okay, I'm just putting in a number there. So what happens is that if you have a condo and there's a fees associated with it, $400, that adds up to your mortgage amount. So every 100K turns out to be 400 to 420 fees. So if you were to get a house for 700K, that would be the same as getting a condo with 600.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have to look into that.
I think a lot of people don't realize that between, like, you know, homes and condos. People think, you know, homes are something much bigger. Condos are easy, but sometimes it turns out to be the same. Like,
yeah, but it's still relatively easier to get into the condo market because they're cheaper. There's a big difference between the price of a condo and a freehold homes right now. So rather than sitting and thinking, I'm just going to get it, like he mentioned, start small, start anywhere and let the market make money for you.
Yeah.
So there's that cost. Utilities mostly sometimes are included in the maintenance fees, sometimes they're not. So look into that, speak to your realtor, make sure you're educated, and the rest cost I'll let Umar talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really bottles down to your priorities. If you're a young couple and you have limited resources for you and you want to stay in a secluded place where you have like amenities, you can go to your gym, you can use your swimming pool, you can have a family room. When you have more guests coming in, you can use the suite at the condominium. Right? So it bottles down to what your priorities are. If you're still going to the office, working from office, you have to stay close by. Now, if you're able to afford a condo, absolutely go into it full force, because end of the day, you're still making an investment. You're building that equity. You're not paying for someone else. And if you have to sell it, move into a bigger house. You have something concrete. You have something tangible that you can count on. Right? So it really, for me, is about individual's priority. If you're working from home, right, you have a bunch of options outside of GTA, like how Wardah mentioned. People are also moving all the way to Niagara because we have a GO train coming there. If people were going back to downtown, They can commute now. Maybe not immediately 6-8 months down the line. They have that resource, right? And with growing families, imagine you have a kid. You have 2 kids. Now having 2 kids and working from a condominium, it's not realistic.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So you may need a bigger space. And there are options available. Niagara, Hamilton, Bradford. You want to go all the way to the east, Oshawa, Whitby, Pickering. Right?
Yeah.
So there are too many options available. But given the fact we have very low inventory in the market, you really have to be proactive with your approach. On top of it, very first thing, before you even think of hunting a house, find out where you stand with your finances. Are you really pre-approved? You may be thinking back of your head, I can afford a house for 800,000. But go talk to a mortgage guy, talk to a bank consultant, see where you stand with your finances, so you know where you can go ahead, where you can make the decision, where you're comfortable with. Right? If you don't have any, talk to us. We have a very good team. We can help you as well.
Sure. So no, that's a lot of good advice. So Umer, so it's something about commercial real estate and personal real estate, right? Because right now, like you mentioned, a lot of people are moving away because of not having the need to come into the office, like in the financial district and things like that. So have you noticed a little bit of change in terms of the type of real estate that you're seeing, the number of openings? Because right now, let's be honest, a lot of companies are thinking about making this more permanent, right? Like because we've proved to the fact that we can work from home. So does that mean that people are going to be wanting bigger homes and they want bigger office spaces as opposed to having real estate in downtown Toronto, for example? So what has that been like? Because I'm sure you've faced some clients, especially since you've been doing this for about 2 years or so, right? I'm sure you've had these people coming, hey, I don't need to be in the city anymore. Like I'm moving further away for a bigger home because it's nice. Let's be real. Like people enjoy working from home if that is your lifestyle. So what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Like a lot of people I know, IT millennials, they're now working from home and they're so comfortable working from home. A lot of the companies have announced that for the next year or so, they will allow them full flexibility. So if that comes into play, absolutely everyone wants to stay working from home, avoid commuting to downtown unless it's super important or necessary. And people who were living in downtown, I personally know 3 families who have moved to Hamilton and Niagara.
Wow.
Right? It's just because of the space. Because when they were working downtown, they were restricted to having to go to office. And it does not make sense to anyone to commute all the way from Hamilton unless there's not a requirement or a necessity. Right? So people love space. They want to be in their own place where they can spend more time with their loved ones. And even the kids, right? As they grow, they need their own space. They need their private space. They need their own bedrooms. So people are a lot more thinking in that direction and going more outside of GTA, which is also now, if you're thinking, you have to act really quick, right?
It's also affordability, right? Like houses are affordable right now at this point, are affordable that far away. But I think in the next 1 year, those prices are going to skyrocket as well.
Also the interest rates, right? So that's another thing that I was thinking about is while you're talking about this, is the interest that's going to stay as low as it is right now? But what do you guys feel? Because you've been in the industry for a little while, so you know how the interest rates go up and down. Within the next 2 to 3 years, do you see it kind of going up, going down, peaking, just based on trends that you've seen and what you've noticed so far? Thoughts on that?
Absolutely. One of the main reasons for the huge driving force for the Canadian real estate is the interest rate. Now, this interest rate is so low, comparatively to the last few years, that people have not seen such low interest rate. And that is also one of the reasons why if people have locked in an interest rate of 3.5 or even touching 4%, which was considered to be a very good interest rate, are now removing their mortgages from their previous homes and going into a new house and locking it at a lower interest rate. And the Bank of Canada has announced that for the full year, they are not going to increase the interest rate. Now, when the interest rate increases, maybe we may not see that fluctuation, maybe the market may cool down. we cannot predict where this is going to head because it's not just one factor. There's immigration, there's cost of construction. Cost of construction has been doubled. With COVID, there's no material coming into the country. The lumber is a shortage. Even though we produce a lot of lumber, that's exported to the USA. We have only limited resources. The cost of construction has shooted up too much. Right? There are too many factors. But definitely the interest rate, if it increases or fluctuates, we may see a cool down.
That's one of the other questions that I had in mind is, what are the factors that actually change the interest rate? You touched on a bunch of different things, but what about other things that are coming up? Because we have, Silicon Valley, a lot of the companies are now starting companies in Toronto. Does that mean that this is going to go up again? Does the Toronto industry, all of a sudden pick up? Because all these companies are now, people are moving away and kind of move towards Canada. Does that mean that we can see more young people coming in from the States to Canada or perhaps new immigrants? So what are some metrics that, people need to keep an eye out for, right? So A is, you talked about Bank of Canada, monitoring the interest rates. What are other things that, the viewers should kind of keep in mind? Of course, Realtor.com and all these kind of things. What else should they be mindful for? What are the factors that really affect the real estate market?
Immigration, as you said, I think people haven't come into the country for a year and a half right now. So they're all going to come and they're all going to need houses. So the rents are going to go up, and what is the easiest to get? It's a condo. They can't come in and directly afford houses, right? So I think the Toronto condo prices are going to go up as soon as Trudeau allows all the immigrants. Because I personally know 12 families sitting with their co-PR and they're ready to immigrate.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's me personally. I'm sure he knows more. So immigration has stopped, and I think as soon as the immigration, people start coming back into the country, the prices are going to go up. Regardless of the real estate, of the interest rate. Even if they go up a little bit, I think people want to own homes.
Absolutely, No, we'll definitely continue more on this because I really want to talk a little bit about what does it mean to be a buyer, seller after this break. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back after the short commercial break, and we are with Wardah and Umar. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
पूरे ओंटारियो में लाखों लोगों ने अपना कोविड-19 टीका लगवाया है। स्वास्थ्य कनाडा द्वारा अनुमोदित सभी टीके सुरक्षित हैं और अस्पतालों, डॉक्टरों के कार्यालयों, फार्मेसियों और सामूहिक टीकाकरण स्थलों में उपलब्ध हैं। अपनी भूमिका निभाएं, अपना टीका लगवाएं। वेबसाइट ontario.ca/book vaccine पर जाएं या 300 भाषाओं में सहायता के लिए 1-888-999-6488 पर कॉल करें।
पाकिस्तान का सबसे मशहूर एक्स्ट्रा लॉन्ग ग्रेन मुगल बासमती राइस अवेलेबल इन बोथ व्हाइट एंड सिला। होम डिलीवरी इज अवेलेबल subject to minimum order and radius. Also available at your neighborhood fresh co. मजीद मालूमात के लिए आज ही कांटेक्ट करें 5146630480 पर या ऑर्डर करें हमारे फेसबुक से। बनाए ये रमजान और भी खास मुगल बासमती के साथ, the premium choice for premium days.
KK Travel believe in providing everyone the first class customer service. We take care not only for your air ticket but dignity and respect as well. We are available for you anytime on WhatsApp, even while you are in Pakistan or any other destination. KK Travels guarantee lowest prices and are open to price match any airline.
We are KK Travels under supervision of Gas Khan at 905-367-9433 or visit www.gaskhontravels.com.
GTA का सबसे ज्यादा देखा जाने वाला टीवी चैनल आवाज इंटरटेनमेंट के साथ मिलकर बनाए आपके बिजनेस को और भी बेहतर। हम आपके कंपनी या बिजनेस को एक अनोखे अंदाज में पेश करेंगे जिससे आपके बिजनेस में और ज्यादा इजाफा होगा। हमारे फेसबुक, यूट्यूब और वेबसाइट को रोजाना लाखों लोग देखते हैं। हमारे पास हर किसी के एडवर्टाइजमेंट की जरूरत के हिसाब से पैकेज अवेलेबल हैं। आज ही 416-786-9809 पर कॉल करें और अपना एडवर्टाइजमेंट बुक कराएं। आवाज इंटरटेनमेंट, आवाज आपकी, चैनल हमारा। जुड़िए हमसे।
Welcome back, viewers, as we continue our discussion with Wardah and Umar talking about life of a realtor at the moment. So before the break, we talked a lot about patterns and trends within the Canadian market. Let's kind of take a different approach to talk about sellers market versus the buyers market, right? So if you are a seller, what are some things that you need to be considering? So when is the right time to sell versus when is the right time to just kind of let your money grow and things like that too? So Omar, yeah, go ahead.
For sure. I mean, again, if you're thinking of upgrading a house, right? Now, if you're selling, you're also buying. Yeah. So if you're selling high, you're buying high, right? So the way the trends go forward is there's no such thing that defines you should sell first or you should buy first. It's always about what and where you want to tap into the market. For example, if you're looking to upgrade, right? Try buying first, because then all you have to do is sell your house and move into a new house. Yeah. If you sell a house first, right, you have sold it at a lower price and then you're buying at a higher price, and it can be vice versa. There is no right or wrong into this. Yeah. It's a process and everyone has to go through this process. Yeah. But if you're a seller, right, think of it as presenting the property well. If someone is walking into your house, he or she has to feel that, yes, this is my dream house. Yeah. This is the house I want to buy. Yeah. Right? I don't want to lose out on this house. Now, who's going to do the good presentation for you? Yeah. It's us. We have to invest back in your property, stage your property, market your property, present your property well. So you as a seller get maximum dollars for your property. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And if you're on the buyer side, and if you're looking to buy, we as realtors have to educate you as to what are the pros and the cons. What is the neighborhood like? How much of a rate of return you're looking year on year? Is this a really good property for you? Is this something that you can afford? Is there a potential rental income that can be supported to you? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Some key things that we should be very proactive as in like educating our buyers or clients, because we're in the market every day. We know a lot of things than our buyers and sellers do. Right?
One thing you want to ask is, when you are a seller or a buyer, right? So I think one of the first steps to do is, look for a realtor. Right. So what are some qualities or traits that you would say for the audience to say, these are the things that I'm looking for in a realtor? Of course, being able to connect emotionally, really understanding all that but aside, but I'm sure that, everybody has, comfort as well as who they want to work with kind of thing, right? Because like you said, many times it's a big investment.
Yeah, and it's a long process. It can go from anywhere from 1 month to like 6 months, so you should be comfortable with that person, right? Like connect with emotionally, and like that person should understand your needs. Like it's not only just about selling them the house or forcing them to buy. When in this market, when there are 35 offers, sometimes buyers feel like, oh man, we should have put an offer. But it's our job to educate them and tell them that do not have that fear of missing out. Just because a house has 35 offers does not mean that house is best for them. Mm-hmm. So a realtor that understands your needs and keep you as a priority should be like the client's priority.
Yeah. Right? I think I always say people as, if it's meant to be, it shall be. So like, for example, when I went through the process, I did go through that. And the thing is, I didn't get the ones that I wanted, but I got something else which I was more happier with, right? So like you said, if you didn't get the one that you really wanted, you can always, keep your mind open. As long as you have that open mindset, and you say there is a home for you. Right, and then I think that's what matters the most. Yes, go ahead.
Absolutely. I have a very small client story to share.
Please do.
When I was in a process of selling my client's home and helping them buy a home, we actually found a home in Oshawa. It was a custom house, and they were taking offers, I think, on the day we saw the house. So they were like, let's go check out this house. And when we saw the house, they absolutely loved the house. It was brand new, custom built. They had never seen something like that before. And they told me, Omar, we want this house. Now, I, from Oshawa, had to rush all the way to Mississauga, sit down in my office, prepare an offer. In a multiple offer situation, we secured that house.
Wow.
Right? Next day morning, I get a call from my client. They're like, Omar, we panicked last night. I think we made a wrong decision. We don't want to go in and buy the house. And I was like, guys, you're just being a little cold feet. I can vouch that house will definitely give you the value that you're looking for. And I remember it was the baddest day of winter, and my car was like filled with snow. It just took me an hour to clean my car, get to my client's house, sit down with them, educate them, take them again to the house, show them the value, and they were like, let's go with it, just for your word. Today, they call me, they thank me, they're so happy with that house, they can't even express.
Wow.
You know? So sometimes you tend to get cold feet because it's the biggest decision of your life. But trust the process, and that will only happen when you have a strong connection with your realtor.
Yeah, I think like when it comes to this, take a leap of faith.
Exactly.
Go in full feet in, like just go with the flow. And what's the worst that could happen, right? Like you have an issue or something, and there's always ways around it. So that's why people get realtor banks. You're not alone in this, right? So you have a bunch of people that are in this process, in this long-term relationship per se. Realtor doesn't just do this and go. They do, but at the same time, if you want to kind of sell or kind of next steps, if you do like the realtor that you work with, of course they're going to call you back to.
Your first time client is always your second, third time client here, right? They change houses, they upgrade houses. It's all about building that relationship with them, building that rapport with them, and also trusting your realtor, right? He saw something in that house, maybe because when you're in that process, you're also very emotional. But sometimes you need to keep that emotions aside and make a decision that's good for your financially as well.
100%, because a lot of the times, people see the fact that you owe the bank this much money. That's scary. Like for young people and just people that are coming into Canada, like, converting from like Indian rupees to dollars or anything like that, that's huge. That's a big commitment. So another thing that I wanted to ask is, let's say there's an enthusiast that's out there that want to do what you guys are doing, right? So what is a process or steps to become a realtor? Like I understand there is a bit of a process to kind of get through. There's the licensing and a few other experience and things like that. Maybe, Wardah, do you want to go ahead?
So, I went through a program which doesn't exist anymore. It was an ORIA program. You go through 6 exams, and then you get your license, and then you join a brokerage of your choice. Okay. I've joined iPro. He's with iPro as well. And to further elevate our process, we've actually joined a team as well, which is Connect Group, and that's 18 realtors. We all work together. We have our mortgage agents as well, and we have our lawyers as well. So when you work with us, you work with the whole team.
Right.
He did Humber College, which is an ongoing process.
Yeah. So with Humber, though, taking a step back, getting a license is again not a too difficult part, but having the passion, right, is something that you have to focus on. Ask yourself, do you really want to serve people? Do you really want to make connections with people? Do you want to go out and sell homes to people? Make the biggest decision of their life easy. If the answer is yes, then you start the process. Because, it is a commitment. It is a commitment for life. Especially in this industry, we work a long time. We work 14 hours, 16 hours a day. We have to take calls midnight. Right? Yeah. People panic. People like, can you please make sure everything is good, right? My mortgage is being taken care of. My lawyers are good. Can you do my home inspection to make sure everything is good with the house? Yeah. So it's a long-term commitment. Be sure you're ready for that. And then the whole process bottles down to you have to get yourself into a Humber, then clear 6 exams, and then you'll be a realtor. And then you will have to join a brokerage.
What's the duration of these certifications? So is there a specific timeline, or can people just do it in 6 weeks or something like that?
Right. So the duration is you will have to complete the course in 2 years. You can do it in 6 months. You can do it in 8 months. You can do it in 4 months. Again, depends on how you get the dates for the exams. Because there's a bit of a queue, there's a bit of a lineup. So you will really have to pre-plan your exams. Right. You will have to watch for your dates. If at all there is a delay, then it can take up to a year as well.
Got it.
Back in my time, we couldn't give an exam. Like we had to have 15 days gap between both the exams.
It's the same here too, a month's gap.
A month gap?
Yes.
So minimum it will be 6 months.
6
then,
months.
because
Yeah,
it
like I
takes
mean,
6 exams.
I think one of the things that people could do is talk to a realtor in about how do you
Absolutely.
become something like this, right? So a realtor is not only there to help you find your jobs, and I'm sure they'll happy to mentor you and things like that if they approach you for this type of advice as well too. So one thing I want to ask before we wrap up the show is, so is there something that each of you want to kind of tell the audience, like when it comes to real estate, making one of the big investments? We touched on a lot of interesting points today, like it's something like car versus a home, that is important, and something big home versus small home, things like that. So I want to give an opportunity for both of you to kind of share your thoughts and kind of to the viewers, what do you wish to tell them in this present moment in the fall, for the fall?
I think if you're looking to get into the market, get into the market now, because there are opportunities available now which may not be available in 2, 3, 6 months of a time, right? And you can never go wrong with real estate. Like, walk into a bank, ask them if they can give you money to buy the own stock of their bank. They never will. But walk into the bank and tell them you want a house, they will lend you money because they know this is the safest investment ever, right? So if the whole universe is thinking that way, and if you are thinking, oh my God, I can't afford to buy a house, you're completely wrong. Everyone is able to afford a house regard to the fact that they have to start somewhere, and they have to accept that. We have to accept that because that is how the market is. If you don't start now, you will never be able to. Maybe 2, 3 years down the line, it's gonna get more difficult.
I think I think what I understood is there's no such time as the right time. I think the right time
whenever you get in is the
Yes.
right time for you. I will say that I get that everybody around you is probably talking about the housing market, and it can get very daunting. So if you can't afford a house, that's okay too. Work towards it, but don't wait for 20% down. If you can get in with 5%, please get in. Get in as soon as possible, depending on how your financials work, but get in the market. And you don't have to get the market in the hottest area of downtown of Toronto. Go do some Google research and you'll see that anywhere in Toronto or GTA, whoever has gotten a house 5 years ago, even when they were saying that it was the peak, like 2017 was peak of real estate, and people probably in the next year had to suffer losses, but they're still at 30% gain after a couple of years. And 30%, I think I'm being very conservative here.
I think that's really big that you just pointed out, because a lot of people think that it's 20% down. So people don't understand that if it's your first time home buyer, it is only 5%. So keep that in mind, folks, when you are looking at options.
Also, to add to that, I think we didn't touch up, is that if you've been working here and if you've been putting money in your RRSP, as a first time home buyer, you can take $35,000 out of that RRSP tax free. The only, I would say, caveat to it is that you have to pay that money back to yourself in 15 years. But right now, if you are accumulating money in RRSP, that's tax-free money. And if you're even looking to buy next year, let's say March, max out your RRSP in December, and you have 30 days, 90 days before you can take it out. So max it out. Take advantage of all the first-time house buying incentives the government has for you. We live in a very good country. The government tries to help us as much as it can.
I think a lot of the process is pretty straightforward right now. Like, there is good documentation online, and plus I think what you touched on is talk to your realtor, talk to your lawyer. So I guess if I summarize this, you need a realtor, you need a lawyer, as well as who else?
A mortgage
do you need? Mortgage,
agent.
yep.
Very
Or
important.
you just need us, and we have everything for you.
So the last point I want to add is, if you were to get into the market, right, when you find a realtor, do your homework, do your research, because you're hiring professionals that will be making a decision along with you for your future. So you need to make sure you're hiring right people that will work in the best interest of yourself. Absolutely. Not just because my aunt gave me the number, my father's friend is a realtor, or whatever the reason would be. Do your research, talk to people, see what they have to offer and how they can add value.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. No, this has been a very informative and fantastic episode. I just want to take a moment to thank Umer and Wardah for coming on the show and giving us some great insights as well as tips for the real estate market in Toronto and the areas surrounding Toronto as well. Because what I understand is we are going more wider than the city itself. So people need to be aware of the fact that houses are existing outside of the Greater Toronto area, and that's what we talked about a lot today. And wish you guys all the very best as you go through the real estate journey. And this is Omar and Wardah, folks, and this is your host Prashant. I'm from Canadian Mosaic as part of Awaz Entertainment. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to us on our channel. Remember, every investment has new beginnings. Thank you for tuning in, and wish you all the very best in your journey for your home, and see you next time, same time.